Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a story that's a roller coaster of emotions, full of love, betrayal, and heartbreak. This story comes straight from Reddit, where a man thought he had everything figured out with his girlfriend until he overheard something that shattered his world. Buckle up. This one's going to hit hard. Our main character is a 33-year-old veterinarian. Let's call him James. James is the type of guy who, despite his busy career, is passionate about what he does and loves helping animals. He's been through a lot in his life, but one thing he's always been proud of is his work. He owns his own clinic, has a small but loyal client base, and his life seems to be on the right track. Then he met Jenna. Jenna is 28 years old, bright, beautiful, and full of life. She has this magnetic energy that drew James in from the moment they met. It was 2 years ago when she brought her dog, Max, into his clinic because of an ear infection. What was supposed to be a simple veterinary appointment turned into an hour-long conversation. They clicked immediately. Her sense of humor, her intelligence, her adventurous spirit, everything about her seemed perfect. James was smitten. They started dating shortly after, and things moved quickly. Before long, they were practically living together. Jenna moved into his house, a modest but cozy place with a big backyard for Max to run around in. To James, it felt like everything was falling into place. He had a stable career, a loving girlfriend, and even though Jenna was still figuring out her career path after finishing grad school, he didn't mind supporting her. In fact, he encouraged it. He wanted her to feel comfortable, to chase her dreams, and he was more than happy to pay for things while she found her footing. The relationship had its ups and downs like any relationship. But there was something about Jenna that always nagged at the back of James's mind: her best friend, Dylan. Now, Dylan wasn't just any friend. He and Jenna had been close for years long before James ever came into the picture. Jenna would always reassure James that Dylan was just a friend, and James wanted to believe her. He didn't want to be the jealous boyfriend, especially since Jenna had never given him any concrete reason to doubt her. Sure, she spent a lot of time with Dylan, but she had always been upfront about their friendship. She even introduced them a few times, and while Dylan was polite, there was always something about him that rubbed James the wrong way. Despite his reservations, James decided to trust Jenna. After all, a relationship without trust is doomed from the start, right? Fast forward to a Monday. It's been a few months since Jenna's been actively job hunting, and things were starting to feel a bit strained. Jenna was getting discouraged, and James could see how much the job search was wearing her down. He hated seeing her like this, but he kept supporting her. Then, out of the blue, she texted him some amazing news: she got the job. This wasn't just any job, it was her dream job. After months of rejection emails and exhausting interviews, Jenna had finally secured a position at a prestigious company. James couldn't have been more proud of her. The second he read that text, he started making plans for a surprise celebration. He left work early, picked up her favorite Chinese takeout, grabbed a bottle of her favorite wine, and even stopped by a jewelry store to pick up a necklace he'd been eyeing for her, a small, delicate piece with a shark pendant, since Jenna had this quirky obsession with sharks. When he got home, he decided to sneak in through the basement. He figured he'd hide the necklace down there, grab everything else, and surprise Jenna upstairs. But as he reached the top of the stairs, something stopped him. He could hear her talking. At first, he didn't think much of it. Jenna was always on the phone with her friends. But as he got closer to the door, he realized she wasn't just talking to anyone. She was talking to Dylan. Now, that in itself wasn't shocking. They talked often. But this conversation was different. James couldn't help but overhear bits and pieces, and what he heard made his heart sink. Jenna was laughing in that carefree way she did when she was really comfortable with someone. But it wasn't the laughter that caught James off guard, it was what she was laughing about. She was laughing about him, about James. And it wasn't just harmless jokes or playful teasing, it was cruel. "You know, I love James, but sometimes I just can't get over how small he is." Jenna giggled, her voice muffled but clear enough for James to catch every word. James's stomach dropped. What did she mean by that? Then she went on. "Every time I eat a baby carrot, I feel so bad for him. It's like, how does he even live with himself?" James froze. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Baby carrots? She was making fun of him about something so personal, so intimate with Dylan of all people. Jenna kept going, seemingly unaware of how deeply her words were cutting James. "Don't get me wrong, he's got a great body, as long as he keeps his boxers on. The sound of her laughter echoed in James's ears, and he felt sick to his stomach. He wanted to burst into the room, to demand an explanation, but he couldn't move. He just stood there, frozen, his mind racing. This was the woman he loved. The woman he thought he would spend the rest of his life with. They had talked about marriage, about starting a family, and here she was, tearing him apart behind his back, laughing about the most personal parts of their relationship. James didn't know what to do. His mind was spinning. Should he confront her? Should he just leave? He quietly stepped back down the stairs, trying to keep himself from making a sound. His heart was pounding so loudly in his chest, he was sure Jenna could hear it. But she didn't. She was too busy laughing with Dylan. James got into his car and drove. He didn't know where he was going, he just needed to get away. He ended up in a parking lot, staring at the dashboard, trying to make sense of what had just happened. How could Jenna do this to him? How could she say those things? And to Dylan, no less the one person he had always been a little suspicious of. Hours passed. Jenna texted him, asking when he'd be home, but James didn't respond. He couldn't. He needed time to process everything. The next few days were a blur. James went to work, took care of his patients, but inside he felt hollow. He didn't know how to face Jenna. Part of him wanted to believe it was just a stupid joke, that maybe he was overreacting. But deep down, he knew he wasn't. What she had said wasn't just a joke, it was a betrayal. Finally, after 3 days of silence, James knew he had to confront her. He didn't want to do it at home, so he asked her to meet him at a wine bar downtown. He figured a public place would keep things from getting too heated. When they sat down, Jenna looked nervous. She probably knew something was up. James didn't waste any time. He told her everything, how much he loved her, how he had been planning to propose, and how much she meant to him. Then he told her about the conversation he had overheard. At first, Jenna denied it. She looked confused, claiming she had no idea what he was talking about. But when James repeated her exact words back to her, the baby carrots, the boxers, her face went pale. She tried to backtrack, saying she didn't mean any of it, that it was just a stupid conversation, but James wasn't buying it. He told her how much her words had hurt him, how they had destroyed the trust he had in her. Jenna started crying. She begged him not to end things, said she loved him, and that she had only been joking around with Dylan. But James wasn't having it. He told her that if she truly loved him, she wouldn't have said those things. She wouldn't have torn him down behind his back, especially with someone like Dylan. After a long, painful conversation, James told her it was over. Jenna didn't take it well. She stormed out of the bar, leaving James sitting there, feeling both devastated and relieved. But the story doesn't end there. The next day, while James was at work, Jenna came back to the house. She must have had a spare key because when James got home, the place was a disaster. She had trashed everything. The furniture was overturned, his TV was smashed, food was thrown all over the kitchen, and she had even flooded the bathroom. James couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had expected some kind of reaction from her, but not this. She had completely lost it. The only silver lining? His dogs were okay. Jenna had locked them in a room, keeping them safe from the chaos. It took James days to clean up the mess. But in the end, he realized he was better off without her. And just to add a little bit of petty revenge to the mix, James decided to send Jenna a parting gift. He ordered 100 pounds of baby carrots and had them delivered to her friend's house. Was it immature? Maybe. But after everything she put him through, he figured he deserved that small victory. And that's the story, folks. It's a tough reminder that trust is the foundation of any relationship. Once it's broken, it's hard to rebuild. Let us know in the comments, what would you have done in James's shoes? Would you have given Jenna a second chance, or was breaking up the only option? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Reddit tales. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.